I used to be one of those moms who was so busy all the time, I didn't even know which way was up. I had the kids, I had all of these appointments going on, there were sports to get to and to coach, and there were play dates to be had, there were meals that needed to be cooked and then cleaned up, and this house needed to be vacuumed and all the things. I could go on and on. If you are a mom, you are relating to what I'm saying right now. I know for a fact because I hear this all the time. I never have enough time. One day I had an epiphany and I realized that time wasn't the problem. I was the problem. And I came up with this theory why we, especially as moms, never have time or never have enough time. And there's two reasons why that I came up with. We purposefully stay busy just to avoid our feelings. And so this here is a form of distraction. It's just like alcohol or eating or shopping or porn or drugs or sex, all of these things, they're distractions from feeling our feelings. And the number two reason that I came up with was we have to do all of these things. Like we have to do all of these things and no one else can do them because I'm the mom and I'm the only one that can do it. And so it makes us feel important or it makes us feel necessary or it makes us feel relevant. Those are one of just the basic human needs. We need to feel needed and wanted and loved and important. When in this moment, when I'm thinking about these philosophies, I had this realization that the lack of time was created in my brain. Okay, Einstein is going to back me up on this one. This is his theory on time. Time seems to follow a universal tick-tock rhythm, but it doesn't. In the special theory of relativity by Einstein, he determined that time is relative, which means the rate at which time passes depends on your frame of reference. Just as observers in two different frames of reference don't always agree on how to describe the motion of a bouncing ball, they also don't always agree on when an event happened or how long it took. A second in one reference frame may be longer compared to a second in another reference frame. Okay, I love the theory of relativity because, if you are with your kid and you're in the emergency room, time seems to stand still. But when you think about your child going from being a baby to all of a sudden being grown up and not needing you anymore, being like their own human being, it passes in the blink of an eye. And that's the theory of relativity. It's all relative to the situation. But the good news here is that you are in control of it. You are in control of time. My clients are always telling me how exhausted they are, how irritable they are because they're so exhausted. When they get time with their kids, they can't fully be present and show up because they're so exhausted and they're thinking of all the things that they have to do. And so they're just missing out on this time of being present with their kids. And then there's no time to like fill in the blank. It doesn't even matter. There's no time to do anything. So if time is created in your mind, and you're always saying, I don't have time, I don't have time, there's not enough time, guess what you're creating for yourself? No time, 100%. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. So why do some people appear to have like all the time in the world? And some people don't have any time. Here's how I created more time for myself. And I went from being overwhelmed and stressed out to having nothing but time. Like I consciously did this. As soon as I realized that I was the creator of my time and it was created in my brain, I knew that I could create something different for myself. I realized that I was so busy because of all the things on my calendar. And then I realized that I was the one that put them there. Nobody else put things on my calendar. It's really funny when you look at your calendar and you see the first things that go on the calendar, it's always the stuff for the kids. Oh, they got soccer practice at 5, okay, and then they've got karate at Tuesday at 6. And only after all their stuff is put in your calendar would you ever put something into your calendar for yourself. And most moms wouldn't even do that. And that's when the calendar fills up. Because if you don't put your stuff in your calendar first, then somebody else's stuff will go in there for sure. It's kind of like paying yourself first. When you have your own business, you want to make sure you pay yourself first. That's what you want to do with your time. You want to mark out your time first because all of those things got in your calendar because you have put them there. So that means that you are in control of your time, but you're putting everybody else's needs ahead of your own. This is classic mom stuff, making sure that everybody else is taken care of before you. It's the same as the saying when you're on the airplane and they tell you, hey, if there is anything that should go wrong, you want to make sure that you put the mask on yourself first, because if you aren't okay, you can't help your kids. And it's the same thing with time. You want to make sure that you are managing your time first so that you're not feeling exhausted and overwhelmed and all of the feelings, so that when you do have time with your family, you're fully present. Because when you're stressed out, and your kids are talking to you, like, how many times has this happened? Your kid is talking to you, and then all of a sudden, they've been talking for 2 minutes, and you realize you haven't listened to a word that they said, and they're like, Mom, did you just hear what I said?" You're like, yeah, I heard what you said," but you didn't, because you're so tired and focusing on all the 20 things that you feel like you should be doing, when in reality, there's nothing more important than being in that moment right there, listening to your child. So we want to stop putting everybody else's needs ahead of our own. And when we're thinking, I have no time, then you'll look for evidence to prove that right. You'll see it everywhere. You'll be wanting to make plans with your girlfriends, and you'll be like, "See, I can't go out with my girlfriends because there's a basketball tournament this weekend." I'll say hockey tournament because hockey teams always have tournaments on weekends, especially long weekends. The hockey the hockey people be crazy. So yeah, it's like, see, I can't, there's no time for me. I got to do all this stuff for my kids. So you'll see that everywhere. That's how your brain works. You're telling yourself, I have no time. And now your brain is just looking for all the situations to prove you right. Yep. See over there? That proves my point. Over there too? Yep. I have no time. Okay. You're right, brain. You have no time. So when you are looking for that everywhere, you're going to find it everywhere. You create whatever is in your brain. So when you're thinking and saying, I have no time, your brain and the universe are creating that for you, because all they hear is have no time, have no time. They're like, okay, she wants to have no time. So let's make this happen for her. I was staying busy to avoid how I was feeling. We've This is a huge one, especially when it comes to nutrition and how we nourish our bodies. We never are taught how to process our emotions, how to express how we're feeling, what even emotions are. There's some crazy amount of emotions out there, over 300 kinds of emotions. And we certainly wouldn't know what those are because we stick to like maybe 3 or 4, and we've never been taught how to process them. So we just like don't know what to do with them, and they feel horrible. And that's why we'll go and be busy, because if we're busy, we don't have to feel the feelings. We're so busy being busy, we're not feeling sad. We're so busy being busy, we're not feeling lonely or unheard or unloved or whatever those negative feelings that we think are negative feelings are. So it's the same with eating. The reason we emotionally eat is because this feeling feels horrible. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to process it or express it or even describe it. So if I go over here and eat this food, that feeling is going to go away for a hot second. And then I don't have to deal with it. But then guess what? It comes back again. So we definitely want to learn how to process our feelings. And that's where working with a coach can help, or somebody who is trained to do that. And that's what I work with my clients. It's one of the main things. I could teach somebody how to lose weight, all the foods that they need to eat or not eat. But if they don't know how to process emotions, as soon as they're triggered, they're going to go right back to binge eating. Like as soon as they're triggered, they're like, I need to eat chocolate. And then it's game over. And that's the pattern. So I was staying busy to avoid processing my emotions, expressing how I'm feeling, and so I could feel important. Yeah, look at I need to be in 2 places at once. Look how important I am. Everybody needs me. Mom, I need you to come to um tennis. Mom, I need you to pick me up at swimming. Like, look at me. Everybody needs me. And moms have that kind of complex of being needed and being the only ones that can do things. And I decided in that moment to just cut it all out because I realized that I was the one who created that. I'm in charge of my time, and I was putting all of these things on my calendar that were making me super busy. I chose to do those things, so I was choosing to be super busy. So I started to arrange carpools. Like I didn't have to be the one driving my kids all the time. But that was a tough one in my brain because I'm like, they're my responsibility. I have to do it. And they have to be in all the activities. I dropped activities that my kids didn't love. We just picked the ones that they absolutely loved. And I just stopped doing things that I felt like I had to do. You know, when you have a list of all these things and you're like, I don't have enough time. What if I just didn't do that thing? And when you don't do that thing, you're like, huh, look at that. The world didn't end. But it's in our brain like, oh, if we're going to be good moms, we have to do this. That's just our thought, but we never challenged that thought. Is that true? Is that really necessary? Is that what's going to make me a good mom? Is if I wash the windows or like whatever that is? So I let go of things that weren't serving me or bringing me joy, but were just eating up my time. And this was like, oh, I could just exhale. As soon as I gave myself permission to not have to do these things, oh, because I was the one who was making myself do them, who was telling me that I had to do them. That's why, like, time is created in our brain because I was thinking that I had to do all of these things and they were eating up all of my time. So I started to tell myself, I'm like, okay, if time is created in my brain, then I'm going to start to tell myself I have nothing but time. I'm in charge of my time. I decide where I spend my time. I create time for myself. And then my brain started to look for evidence to prove that. So it'd be like, oh, look at that. I have time to go for a walk with my friends. Oh, I have time to take a lesson of something I want to learn. I have time to sit down and have a cup of tea. It was so good because I was proving myself right. I was looking for the evidence. And then my brain started to believe it because I had trained my brain to believe something else. So I just needed to keep repeating it and repeating it. I have nothing but time. I create time. Look at all the time that I have. And then my brain started to believe it. And I found I had an abundance of time. I had created an abundance of time for myself with this philosophy. And I created it in my brain. And you can do it too. So you want to notice what you're telling yourself about time. And I guarantee you, this will come up all the time is like, I don't have enough time. There's not enough time. And then if you notice that, be like, look what I'm creating for myself, right? Your thoughts create your results. Whatever comes up in your brain, that's what you're creating for yourself. So if I can create time in my brain, I know that you can create time in your brain. And you want to start by figuring out why you're creating this chaos and a lack of time in the first place. And then go from there. Like, where did this come from? And you know where a lot of it comes from is the pressure of thinking I have to be a good mom, and in order to be a good mom, I got to do all these things. Or my mom did these things. This is a classic one when I work with my clients. It's like, oh, my mom used to make all these foods or do all these things. So I feel like I have to do those things to be a good mom. No, that's just the way she created her life that worked for her. And she probably never questioned anything. So we're just living subconsciously with somebody else's thoughts of what a good mom should be. And we want to stop and be like, what is a good mom to me? Is spending time with my kids, being present with them in the moment and spending time with my kids. That's the key. Spending that time is the most precious currency because it's limited. And so a lot of what's going on can be linked back to our upbringing and the way our parents, usually our mom, because they're the role model of how to be a mom, what they thought, and that came from their mom, and they've never questioned it. So you want to figure out where this is coming from in your brain. Just like I did. I wasn't feeling emotion or to feel important. Like I realized that's why I was doing it. So I promised you this. The answer is in your brain and your thoughts about time. I know that to be true. I know that for sure. And remember, these thoughts are just sentences in our brains. That's all a thought is, but it's a sentence that you created. So you're in charge of that. And then picture this, we go from like never having enough time, and then in midlife, bam, all we have is time. Like your kids will break up with you and you'll feel like you have nothing but time. And the same philosophy applies to this, but in the opposite, right? Because then you start to think, where did the time go? They grow up so fast and you're bored and you have nothing to do. You feel lost without purpose. You spin in confusion and you're feeling stuck. And then time slowly ticks by as you just wait for your kids to need help from you, maybe possibly need help from you. Or there might come a day like they want to spend time with you and you're just waiting for that. And time seems to stand still. It's like a drudgery. It's like you're in the abyss, but you're still in control of your time. And the theory of relativity still applies. Time is still a construct of your brain, and you can make time go as fast or as slow as you like. You can make every moment magical because at the end of the day, time is all we have. And now you have all of your time back. So now maybe you have the opposite problem of when your kids are little and you have what feels like too much time on your hands. But here's one thing, you can never have too much time, and time is just so valuable. But the one thing that I know for sure is that we will all run out of time one day, and we can't buy more time. This is what makes life so precious, is that time is limited. So the earlier you can see time for what it is, the richer and more fuller your life will be, because time is relative. And you are the answer. You are always the answer. Thank you for listening. Always love yourself first and have an amazing day.